England, New Zealand and France finished their international seasons with great victories. A yellow and red card massacre in Dublin as the Springboks took on Ireland, and a good win for Japan put them into band 2 in the World Cup draw, pushing Georgia down to band 3. Meanwhile, Toulouse run roughshod through the top 14. Hello and welcome to the Rugby Roundup with Big Mike here on November 26, 2025. It is me, Big Mike, part of Big Mike Rugby. Now let's get talking about our beautiful game, shall we? Also this weekend we see the return of the Premiership in England, the United Rugby Championship, and the Sevens. But enough for that. Let's get to the roundup. And we're going to start with international men's rugby, starting at the top of the world rankings, the South African Springboks, who were away from home against Ireland. Without mentioning the score, let me talk to you about the cards. 20th minute, Ireland red card. 34th minute, Ireland yellow card. 40th minute, Irish yellow card. 43rd minute, Irish yellow card. 63rd minute, Irish yellow card. And the 79th minute, South African yellow card. Now, after listening to all of that, can you guess who won? You would be right if you thought it was the Springboks taking the win in Ireland, which they did. But with all of those yellow cards, with so many men in the bin, at one point down to 12 men, South Africa only went into the half-time break 19-7 ahead. And Ireland won the second half, 6 points to 5. Final score in this one was 24 points to 13 to the Springboks. Absolute chaos, and I have to admit, as an unbiased spectator, I think the referee might have been right on this one. Very disappointing for this Irish squad after a subpar November international window, but they can be very proud that they only lost by 11 points, and despite their discipline being poor, they fought until the very end. Not sure what this will do for their momentum going into the Six Nations. As for the Springboks, they finished the year with only 2 losses, those being to the All Blacks and to the Wallabies. And they also finished the year on top of the World Rugby rankings. Lots of opportunities missed, but a win is a win. Now to number 2 in the world, the All Blacks from New Zealand. They were away from home in Cardiff at the Principality, the Millennium Stadium in Wales. For just the 4th time in history, someone scored a hat-trick against the All Blacks, that being Mr. Rogers, the beautiful Welsh winger. This one was, let's just say, it was all about redemption for the All Blacks, who went down to England the week before. But for the Welsh, it was all about proving a point at half-time, 24-14 to the All Blacks. This one finished 52 points to 26. A comprehensive victory for the All Blacks, but not one as large as we would have expected just a few months ago. Big win for this one for the All Blacks was their set piece, being strong again, line-out pressure, scrum pressure, keeping their foot on the throat of that Dragon of Wales. Few tries just disallowed in this one going back in time, but at the end of the day, as I said for the Springboks, a win is a win. All Blacks finished the year with 3 losses, those being to Argentina, South Africa and England. And speaking of England, let's go to that 3rd-ranked team in the world who have been unbeaten since their match against Ireland in February. This one was all about the onslaught in the second half at halftime England were up 17 points to 3 before the Argentinians started their comeback, something they have been known to do all season long. We got this one to 17 points to 16 before England managed to escape with a 27-23 victory over Los Pumas at Twickenham. England looking like they have the most momentum going into the Six Nations, them and the French. Their kicking was better, their structure was better. Argentina were the more exciting team to watch, but they couldn't get the job done. The dominance of the English squad really showed up in that first half. Argentina nearly did it again. They couldn't quite get there. They'll be feeling a bit indifferent about this one. England win and stay in third place going into Christmas. Ireland are sitting in fourth and the French are in fifth. Now let's talk about the most fun game of the weekend. After that absolute craziness between Ireland and South Africa, we got to watch France taking on the Wallabies in the Stade de France in Paris. Wallabies were good in the first half. At halftime, we were looking at a 19-all game. 27 points to 26 after 60 minutes. But then the French closed this one out. Not sure if the Wallabies ran out of gas or what. French ended up winning 48 points to 33, meaning that the Wallabies lost all 4 of their games in Europe. Wallabies had their moments, but they couldn't quite get over the line when they needed to. Their superstars played super, but they just weren't as cohesive as they were in the winter months in the Southern Hemisphere. The French speed and precision and kicking accuracy is what helped them pull away. France finished the year in 5th place in the world rankings. Australia somehow hold on to 7th. In between them is Argentina. Then in 8th spot we have the Flying Fijians. Now, this Fiji squad, let me tell you, for the last few years they've been getting better and better. They've beaten teams like England and Australia. But then they also lost to Portugal at the World Cup. They were away from home against Spain. And they looked like they might just do it again. It was back and forth in the first half, and at half-time it was 15 points to 14 in Spain's favour. After 65 minutes, it was 33 points to 24 in Spain's favour. But then Fiji managed to run away with this one. They won the game 41 points to 33, escaping in Spain. This is an improving Spanish squad, so we don't want to be surprised by how well they did. And unfortunately, you cannot be surprised with how poorly Fiji played at the same time. They got the job done, they showed determination, they got over the line and they won the game, which is important. Fiji, of course, are going to be part of that 12-team competition next year. They will be playing all 6 teams in the Six Nations on the 2 sides of their Pacific Nations Cup journey. Fun game nonetheless, this one. Fiji finishing the year 8th in the world rankings. Let's go down to 9th, that being the Scots. Not much to talk about in this one, just like they did against the USA at the start of the window. Scotland kept Tonga scoreless. Final score in this one, 56-0. It was 21-0 at half-time. Scotland kept scoring and they ran away with this one. 1 red card and 3 yellows definitely did not help Tonga in this one. They were good on defence. There was 35 minutes in the middle on either side of half-time, nearly a full half worth of play where they kept Scotland out. But Scotland still scored 56 points. Scotland will be happy with this one, but obviously very disappointed in their losses to New Zealand and Argentina. Then number 10 in the world, Italy. I thought this one could have been close, and it was. It was Italy taking on Chile. Halftime 15 points to 7 for the Italians. Final score 34 points to 19. Big scare at the end of the year for Italy. But again, Chile is one of these nations that just keep on improving, and they're going to get better and better and better and better. They are behind Uruguay in the South America rankings, but they are a better squad than the USA and Canada. Chile. Also, the sneaky Chileans, they have ensured that they are in Band 3, ranking 17th in the world, just ahead of Tonga. Samoa have dropped down to 19th despite winning their playoff tournament, just because of the teams that they faced. This will give Chile a good opportunity to win a game at the World Cup, as they will be drawn in a pool against either Samoa, Portugal, Romania, Hong Kong, China, Zimbabwe, or Canada. Wales sit in 11th. Then we had the big battle. It was Japan taking on Georgia. Loser of this one likely dropping down a band to Band 3. Now, when I do mention these bands, I'm talking about Band 1, 2, 3, and 4, the top 6 teams in the world, second 6, and so on, because that's how the World Cup draw will be next week. We were 81 minutes into this one at the big old stadium in the capital of Georgia. Despite being down 16-6 at half-time, Georgia, thanks to a converted try in the 78th minute, had got out to a 23-22 lead. However, in that 81st minute, they gave up a penalty. Japan slaughtered that penalty to Mr. Lee, scoring his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th penalty of the game, plus a conversion, 20 points. And it secured Japan a 25-23 victory. That was the fight that Japan wanted to show. They wanted to prove a point. They wanted to make sure that they belonged in the top 12 teams. They spread the ball. They did great. Georgia have a great scrum. They did what they needed to up front, but they didn't quite have enough to get on top of Japan. This one, phenomenal game. Two teams that we want to see playing a little bit more, if you ask me. Japan are now sitting in 12th. Georgia are in 13th. And up to 14th, we have Uruguay. And they are there because they started with a great first half against Romania in Bucharest. And they finished this one 31-21 victors. I can't say outright, but I'm pretty sure that 14th is the highest ranking that this Uruguay squad has ever had. There is a big gap between them and Georgia in 13th, however. Sitting in 15th is Spain, who did have that narrow loss to Fiji. No game for the USA on the weekend. They are in 16th. Chile 17th. Tonga 18th. Samoa 19th. Portugal 20th. And after being 16-all against the Canadians at half-time, Portugal got a great victory, 33 points to 27, one of their highest profile victories of the year against that Canadian squad. Portugal in 20th. The unfortunate Belgium squad are in 21st. Romania's 22nd. Hong Kong, China's 23rd. Zimbabwe's 24th. And Canada is 25th. Another interesting result from the weekend, Albania defeated Greece 57-0. And in the women's game, Belgium defeated Germany last weekend, 23 points to 0, but they went down to Hong Kong, China, 15-7. And that is it for international rugby results from last weekend. So let's go to the club game. And it was round 10 of the top 14 in France. Last weekend's results saw Stade Francais Paris beat Toulon 51-24, Montpellier 28-0 over Perpignan. 49-7 was the final score as Toulouse trounced Montauban. Castres 19-17 close victory over La Rochelle. Racing 92-47-27 victors over Bayonne. Lyon took down Clermont 43-24. And Bordeaux lost a very close one to Pau, 34 points to 33. What this does for the table, Toulouse is up top, followed by Pau, Stade Francais Paris, Toulon, Bordeaux, and La Rochelle. Bottom of the table, the winless Perpignan. No games in the Pro D2 last weekend. Premiership Rugby Cup in England saw Leicester take down Northampton 34 points to 22, Saracens 43 zip over Newcastle, Exeter close victory over Bristol 22-17, and in yet another 0, the Salé Sharks scored 0 against Bath, who got 20. The only unbeaten squad in this one so far is Leicester. We also had no games in Premiership Women's Rugby. And you know what? I think that's it for last weekend. Now quickly about me, if you want me to talk about any teams, any games, any competitions, find me at Big Mike Rugby. Best place to talk to me is on Instagram. Also just comment on one of the podcasts. Hey! Did I say Wimbledon last week? I meant to say Twickenham. It's the same place, it's England. Everything's too short for me anyway, because I'm Big Mike. Alright, international rugby this week. There is one game. It is South Africa taking on Wales. I do not think this one's going to be close, despite the fact that South Africa have dropped about 13 players to get back to their URC squads and to get back to Japan. I think they are going to absolutely destroy the Welsh. Last game of the year. Alright, to club rugby now. Let's talk about round 6 in the URC. Reminder that after 5 weeks, the Stormers and Munster sit on top undefeated, followed by Glasgow and Cardiff with 4 wins from 5. Ulster and the Bulls, 3 wins from 5. And Leinster, the Lions, Zebre and Benetton all on 2 wins. 2 Welsh squads, Dragons, the Newport Gwent squad, and Scarlets haven't had a win yet. Stormers are playing Munster. Munster will be full strength. Stormers not so much. I imagine they've got a few players still left in the Springboks squad. I expect Munster to take that one. Other games this weekend, we've got Ulster taking on Benetton. Dragons, can they get their first win? I doubt it, they're playing Leinster. Bulls taking on Lions, a great South African match. Zebre versus Cardiff. Edinburgh taking on Ospreys. Connacht are hosting the Sharks. And the Scarlets are taking on the Glasgow Warriors. In round 11 in the top 14, top of the table, Toulouse. This one's going to be a great one. They're playing Racing 92. Other games this weekend, Montpellier host Bordeaux. Clermont take on Stade Francais Paris. Bayonne versus Lyon. Castres hosting the winless Perpignan. Toulon taking on Montauban. And Pau versus La Rochelle. We've also got the Premiership coming back for round 6. Top of the table, Northampton and Bath, 4 wins from 5. And we have Exeter, Saracens, Leicester and Bristol all on 3 wins a pop. Gloucester and Newcastle haven't had a win, and they're not playing each other this weekend either. You've got the Salé Sharks taking on the Exeter Chiefs, Newcastle versus Leicester, Gloucester versus Harlequins, Bristol taking on Northampton, and Saracens taking on Bath. It is Bath and Saracens for me this weekend, as that is second taking on fourth. Don't think we forgot about Pro D2, because we've got round 12 in the D2 competition in France. Vannes sit on top of the table. They have Colomiers and Valence Romans with them on 8 wins out of 11. We've got Brive hosting Colomiers, Grenoble hosting Berry, Oyonnax taking on Béziers, Provence versus Carcassonne, Soyo Angolemi versus Aurillac, Dax versus Stade Montois, Valence Romans versus Nevers, and my beloved Vannes hosting again. No Rugby Europe Super Cup just yet. Women's Club Rugby, we have the return of Premiership Women's Rugby. Sitting at the top of the table, undefeated, maximum points, we have Gloucester Hartpury. This weekend, they are taking on the Bristol Bears. Also got the Salé Sharks versus the Exeter Chiefs, the Loughborough Lightning versus the Leicester Tigers, and Trailfinders hosting Saracens. The Leicester Tigers have not had a win. And that is our club rugby, what to look forward to this weekend. Now, we also have the return of the 7 series, and it's going to be a little bit different this year, folks. We have a men's series and a women's series with 8 teams each. They'll be playing at 6 different competitions, I think. Then there's going to be a grand final, and then there's going to be another grand final, then there's going to be another grand final. At some point, The teams from this competition will be playing teams from the new 7 Series 2 and 7 Series 3. So they'll be going into that World Championship with the top 4 teams from Division 2. It's all very confusing. These competitions haven't been announced yet. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, men's teams. Argentina absolutely sauced their opponents last season, finishing top of the table, followed by Fiji and Spain. South Africa came in 4th. The bottom 4 teams, Kenya, Uruguay, Ireland and the US, have all been eliminated from the top 8, dropping down to that Division 2. The other 4 teams are France, Australia, New Zealand and Great Britain. We are expecting Fiji to be strong as always, and Argentina to continue their momentum. Spain, South Africa will be exciting teams to watch, as will France. New Zealand and Australia will have points to prove, and then there's Great Britain. Now the women's series. This was dominated again by New Zealand and Australia, winning all of the competitions. 3rd place was France, followed by Canada. They were in a tight contest for 3rd and 4th. The 4 teams eliminated: Brazil, China, Ireland and Spain. See you later. We've also got Japan, the United States, Fiji and Great Britain. We are expecting Australia and New Zealand to dominate once again. Canada and France to be hot on their tail, hopefully being able to cause an upset or 2 over the big dogs. The US, Japan and Fiji will be full of flair, looking to cause their own little upsets. And then there's Great Britain. To be honest, I don't know how excited I am about these competitions. There's only 8 teams. It's going to be the same 8 teams over and over again. 2 pools of 8. Then I guess semi-finals? Who cares? It is pretty much the same teams in both the men's and women's. Obviously, the men's have Argentina. They've got South Africa and they have Spain, whereas women have Canada, Japan and the United States. This was all done to be similar to other competitions around the world, but if you ask me, a lot of that excitement has been dropped off. Kenya, Uruguay, Ireland, USA, all great teams. And they won't be playing against these guys regularly, which might mean that that gap is going to get a little bit bigger. If I'm a betting man, judging by that New Zealand squad that they announced, they are going to win the women's comp. Men's, I'm going to pick Fiji to just get it ahead of Argentina. So now, before we finish up, how about we talk about Big Mike's big 3 games of the weekend? If you've only got time to watch one, follow one, see one, whatever, maybe make sure it's one of these guys. We'll go with one game from the 3 big club competitions in Europe. Starting with the top 14, we have the top of the table Toulouse taking on Racing 92. This Racing squad has been a bit hit and miss, but they are just outside the top 6, and they will be looking to prove a point. Toulouse is dominating. This is the last round before we get into the European Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup. So these 2 teams, I'm not sure if they're going to rest anyone, but I think this one's going to be pretty exciting. Also, you've got Pau and La Rochelle, which is the top 6 contest in the Premiership. As I mentioned earlier, Saracens and Bath, 4th versus 2nd, both teams chasing the Saints at the top of the table. And in the URC, despite the fact that I imagine a few Stormers players won't be there, it's still a battle of the unbeaten squads as Munster take on the Stormers. That's enough of me this week. The least excited I am going into a Sevens tournament in quite a while. Anyway, beautiful club rugby happening up in the Northern Hemisphere and a little bit of South Africa as well. Japan League 1 will be kicking off before we know it, and hey, keep an eye on those Super Rugby jerseys being announced, eh? Blues one I saw today, looking beautiful.